DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Good evening and welcome to Monday Night on DJNTV. I'm John Young, your host for tonight's show. And tonight I am joined, let's see, wait a second. Yes, that direction, by the one and only Ron Ruth of Ron Ruth Weddings, Ron Ruth Entertainment. Ron Ruth Awesomeness?
Was with Ron Ruth Wedding Entertainment.
Okay.
But I'm now with just ronruth.com or Ron Ruth. Because I'm pretty much retired from the DJ world, John. I decided I did my last wedding a couple of weeks ago, but I'm not ready to quit yet because I got so much more I want to do, and I want to talk about how to run a successful wedding business and how to create unforgettably fun wedding celebrations and wow experiences for customers and couples. So I decided that's the new direction I'm going to go.
Excellent, excellent. And of course, for those of you joining us tonight, thank you for being with us, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're watching tonight. Ron is going to be one of the presenters out at our show coming up here in February, out in Las Vegas with the DJNTV DJ Convention. For information, you can go to djntv.com/show. That will take you to the page that has all the different seminars and all the speakers and the descriptions and such. And Ron, you're going to be doing, to kind of fit in with your passion for giving back, teaching how to create these moments, you're going to be doing a masterclass with us here in February.
Yeah, it's called How to Speak Fluent Wow, the Language of High-Spending, Loyal, Raving Customers. And it's all about delivering customer experiences, because in today's consumer-driven marketplace, more and more customers are not willing just to settle on what we've always known as being customer service. They expect, they insist on this wow level experience where actually they feel valued, they feel special, they feel important, they feel as though the experience that they're enjoying was created solely with them in mind. And there's all sorts of little tricks and ways of doing that. And yes, that's going to be something that we're going to go head deep into working on during that workshop time.
So I'm
very excited.
Let's kind of you mentioned experiences that were created just for them. For people who are like, Ron, I can't wrap my head around that. Give us an example out in the real world of someplace where people might have seen an experience that has been created, or it seems like it's created just for them.
And that's just the trick. That's just it. It doesn't necessarily mean it was created just for someone. It means that they feel as though it was created solely for them. I mean, a great example, my greatest examples of any kind of customer experience, but there's lots of them, but my favorite example is of course Disney World. When you make reservations to go to Disney World, the process that you go through with the reservations people makes it feel as though you are that everything that you're about to enjoy was created only for you. And the way that they treat you by asking you questions about, are you here? Are you coming to celebrate? How many times have you been? Oh yeah, what's your favorite thing to do? Just that personalized service of treating you as a human rather than just as a transaction can be something that makes it feel like it was created solely for you. Rather, if you're just being treated like a transaction, then the process is just, how many people are coming? Yeah, how many nights are you going to stay? Yeah. And is there any special dietary requirements about that? And then you're done. That's a transactional experience.
Right.
But especially in the wedding industry, though, I think so often in the wedding industry, people, it doesn't matter whether you're a DJ, a florist, caterer, photographer, any of it, we are being asked to participate in one of the most personal days of an individual's life. This is a wedding is one of those moments that brings families together, and it's ever so personal, and we're all being invited to be a part of it. If you want to make people feel as though the experience that they're enjoying was created solely with them in mind, it all comes down to how you treat those individuals leading into and during that event. Are you listening to them? Are you taking in what they're telling you and then offering ideas that are going to be something that maybe is directly related to part of them growing up, or to their relationship, or to their family, or whatever? But it's more than just saying, well, I bring lights, I bring sound, and I bring music, and I'm going to play for 4 hours, and then we're all going to go home. It's no, we're going to, as a matter of fact, in the 28 years that I did weddings, for the first 15 years, I used to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's talk about, I bring all those lights. I got 10,000 songs in my music library. I bring these huge lights. They flash. They do all this really cool stuff. And then after about 10 or 15 years of that, I finally figured out that, you know what? That's not really what we're here to sell. What we're selling are memories, an unforgettably fun wedding celebration. What the couple doesn't care about my lights or anybody's lights or their sound of the music library. They don't care about the food. They don't care about the pictures. What they want are moments. They want memories. They want the praise of throwing the best party ever thrown. That's what couples are really after. And it's that emotional connection that makes it feel as though this was something that was created solely with them in mind.
So trying to create that emotional connection, it's tough to teach that. How do you teach someone to be emotionally involved or emotionally engaged?
Well, I don't think it's something that you can teach. What you have to do is you have to learn the value of listening. I forget who said it, the quote, but it's something to the effect of we tend to listen only to respond rather than to understand someone. And I've talked about it before, and nauseam is about taking improv classes. And one of the things that I learned in improv is that you have to be an active listener, meaning that you're taking in what somebody's saying, so you know how to react to it rather than just waiting so you can say something. In a sales consult, I think we've all fallen into that trap, especially early in our careers, where we go, so tell me about what it is that you're most interested in for your wedding.
Right.
And the whole time they're talking, you're going, yeah. Okay, as soon as they're done, I'm going to bring up, oh, did I mention I carry all this music? Or did I mention I do this? Or did I, and all of the things that they told you just slipped right by you. But by being an active listener, the beauty of being an active listener is that so much of the information that they share are things that you can feed back to them later in the course of a conversation. As an example, I used to do, I love doing love stories at a wedding. And one of the first things I do when I meet with a couple, and I think everybody should do this, I don't care, again, if you're a photographer, any member of the wedding industry, one of the first things you should do in a sales consult is, rather than jumping into what is it you want and here's what I have, tell me about yourself. Tell me about, how did you meet? Where did you meet? When did he propose? Where did he propose? Were you surprised? Did you help pick out the ring? Oh, may I see the ring? Oh, God, it's so beautiful. God, did he pick that out? Oh, you picked it out. Oh my God, you're such a brave man. What a wonderful thing that you did. All the information that they share, and along with, maybe a little bit about where they went to school and where they work, all of these things later in the conversation, when you start talking about the things that you can do, you can bring back some of. I heard you say that when he proposed, he proposed to you on the beach in Malibu or whatever. That's something that maybe you can come up with an idea of, how can we recreate this, something similar to that at the wedding? How can we make that part of the wedding? Was there something special about it? I had a couple not long ago that they got married on the beach in Florida. And about 2 months later, they decided to bring their family and everybody together for the party. But they did it in the style of like they were having it on the beach in Florida. So it was all pretty much a beach wedding. Everything revolved around the beach. Now, the other thing that they wanted to do was they wanted to, the bride's father was terrified of flying. He hated flying, and so he didn't make it to the wedding. And she felt really bad that he was unable to walk her down the aisle. So she wanted to do something that would be inclusive, like repeating of vows, but not really repeating of vows. So what we did was we put together an ad libs for the wedding vows. So, so we went around the room and fill in, give me a noun, give me this, give me that. We put together this whole ad lib. So when I stood to repeat their vows, it was all based on the ad libs that their guest had put together. And it was a fun, unique moment. Plus her dad was able to walk her down the aisle. It was wonderful. And again, it was all revolved around this beach moment. Now, if I had not been paying attention, if I had not been listening to them in the initial sales consultation, I would have missed all of that. I wouldn't have cared about her father not walking her down the aisle. Instead of being able to say, what can we do to make him included in this wedding for you? So again, most of putting together a wow level experience doesn't come from being able to teach you how to do it. You have to learn how to become an active listener and the value of becoming an active listener.
So that flashes me back to our early example where you talked about calling and making the reservations for Disney, or your experiences with Disney. Can you, or have you tested some of those times when you've been engaging with Disney cast members, if they are actively listening, or if they're going down a script type of thing? Have you been able to decipher that and see?
I think, well, I've not tested it, but you can tell. I mean, gosh, I don't remember the exact number of cast members that Disney has, but I mean, there's tons of them, and there's not going to be any given day when 100% of the cast members are all going to be cheery, smiley, and welcome to Disney World. It's just not going to happen. So there are times when you can tell when somebody's having a bad day. It's just human nature that's going to happen, especially in a situation that's that big. And the thing about Disney cast members is that they don't have as much autonomy as they have to help make guests happy. They don't have nearly as much autonomy as like a company like Zappos, as an example, or the Ritz-Carlton people, where it's much easier not to test necessarily, but to tell if somebody's being scripted or whether they're really genuinely. God, that was a hard word to say.
That was
John.
a little tough, yeah.
Genuinely interested in what you're going through, how your day is as a customer. One of my favorite stories about Zappos, I think I've told you the story before, but it's about my son. He ordered like $800 worth of merchandise from Zappos a day or two after Christmas a couple of years ago, and it was supposed to be like next day delivery. It's part of Zappos free rewards program. You get next day delivery, and as it worked out, the merchandise did not arrive the next day. And by the way, my son had no intention of keeping $800 worth of merchandise, but Zappos has this really liberal return policy where you can return merchandise that hasn't been worn within a year of purchase, and they'll even pay the return shipping on it, and it costs you nothing. So he was going to try things on, see how it fit, whether he liked the way it looked and all that. Well, the day after he ordered his order didn't arrive, he reached out to Zappos. Zappos said, you know what, we're really very sorry that your order did not get there. It was a really bad winter that winter. And they said, maybe the trucks have gotten tied up. We were really not sure. And also, like the day after Christmas is a heavy return day for any of the delivery companies. So they asked him to wait a day. So we waited a day. Next day comes, still nothing. The thing didn't show up. So he calls Zappos and he said, my order still has not arrived. They put him on hold for a few moments, and they came back and they said, Mr. Ruth, we're very sorry, but we have no idea what happened to your order. So here's what we're going to do. So here's what we're going to do. He goes, I'm personally, the CSR said, I'm personally going to go pull your order right now. I'm going to make sure it gets on the truck, and you will have it tomorrow for free. And my son said, but I already get next day delivery for free. And the CSR said, no, I'm sorry. Let me clarify. I am going to fully refund your $800 order. I'm going to ship it to you for free. And when you receive it, if there's something you don't like or if it doesn't fit, then please feel free to give it to a charity or a homeless shelter or something in your area.
Right.
I mean, this is an experience where, you go, what?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a delightful surprise, but it's also a very big wow moment being delivered where, just companies just don't do that. I mean, but here's the thing. On an $800 order, it costs Zappos probably $400. On average, it's a 50% markup for apparel and retailers. So it costs Zappos around $400 to refund this $800 order, but they made thousands of dollars in return revenue off of that $400 write-off, because my son is a loyal, dedicated fan of Zappos. He's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. He's told all of his friends and family about this experience, and they a bunch of them I know of have turned into customers of Zappos. I'm a customer of Zappos now. I've told the story to audiences, and I know at least a couple of those audience members have reached out to Zappos just to see what was going on, and now they're customers. So it's kind of like a trickle-down effect. This became a story worth repeating and worth repeating and worth repeating. And that's part of, again, of what the WOW experience is about. It's about creating those moments, those stories that people want to tell over and over and over again. And for those watching, you may go, well, God, that's giving away $400 on an order. Look, Zappos is known for doing a lot less and still getting the same amount of coverage return off of it, just simply by sending flowers to an ailing customer.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that goes viral. And because it goes viral, again, it becomes a story worth repeating and repeating. And people go to that company to want to be a part of something that's as special as what Zappos does as far as taking care of their customers.
So really then the WOW is about us creating something that would become viral with our clients to get them to be talking about us.
Well, and it doesn't necessarily have to go viral. It has to. I mean, I think people try really too hard to try to make things go viral. I think it's enough just to do things for your couples that make them want to retell the story.
Sure.
Of retelling of of retelling, not about all the lights and people are going to talk about.
Not too often. For
the most part, couples are not going to talk about the lights and the sound and the music. What they're going to talk about is how well you took care of them. Oh my God, he did this. He did this thing for my grandmother. He did this thing for my father, or he did, whatever it is. Those personal moments, those little things that those are the stories that they're going to repeat. And those are the stories that set you apart from every other DJ. And every DJ has light, sound, music. That makes everybody exactly the same. What separates you, what differentiates you, what elevates you above every other business in your market are those little things that you do to exceed expectations in ways that are personal and unique, and something that people are going to talk about over and over and over again. I still have couples to this day, going back years, that remember something I did for them, and they go, "I'll never forget this thing." And I'm like, wow, that's incredible, because I didn't realize at the moment that was something that was going to be so important to you. But God, I'm glad to hear it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's always kind of a neat, fulfilling thing, where something that we may have overlooked, but just because it's part of what we are and who we are and what we do.
Absolutely.
And it touched them in a way. And it's like, oh, I guess I.
Well, and again, you're working with an entire family. So, there's more. The goal is never to create one satisfied customer. The goal is always to create or generate an army of loyal, raving fans. So when you're doing a wedding, you're not just there to satisfy or to exceed the expectations of the bride and groom. You're also there to exceed the expectations of everyone around them, because those people are also going to be a part of that army of loyal, can become a part of that army of loyal, raving fans who are going to refer you and who are also going to come to you for your services as well. I had something really unique happen to me at my last wedding. My last wedding was on December the 7th, Pearl Harbor Day. And I've never had this happen before, but the father of the bride reached out to me afterwards, and he sent me an email, and he said, "Would you have time for coffee?"
Okay.
I said, "Sure, I got time for coffee." And I met him the week after his daughter's wedding at McDonald's just for coffee. All he wanted to do was he said, there's a McDonald's here. Let's go have coffee. So I met him, and I was a little concerned as to why does he want to meet with me? It's the first time ever I've had a father want to meet with me personally to thank me. That doesn't happen.
Sure.
To say, thank you for what you did for my daughter. Thank you for making this day. At the end of the night, my daughter was in, and I'm not saying this about to brag about me. The reason I'm sharing this story is this is how important it is to make these emotional connections with the people that you're working with, because these are the rewards that you're going to get. That are these extra thank yous, these extra hugs, these extra tears at the end of the night, these extra moments where somebody called you and said, "Can I have a cup of coffee with you? Because I want to thank you," which he never said, but that's what it's turned out to be. And it was like, it almost is uncomfortable because you're going after about 3 or 4 thank yous going, okay, God, I'm so happy that you had such a great time. That to me was more valuable than any tip than anybody could have possibly have ever given me.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Neat that he would have reached out and he would have done that.
Yeah. It's, and it's, like I said, it's an incredible opportunity. But we've talked about big things, and you know what? It's been cold. I have my heater on. Now all of a sudden while I'm talking to you, I'm getting hot. Hang on.
Yep, no problem. No problem.
Turn that off real quick.
I'm actually getting the other side of it where now the office is starting to cool off. I'll be
I
turning
had
my
this
heater
heater.
on.
Yeah. Before I started talking, I was like, man, it's cold down here. Now all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I'm really burning up. So, but I mean, there are, you don't have to do things that are epic in order to get the conversation going, to get people talking about the things that you do. You and I have talked about this before, and I forgive me if those of you watching have heard me tell this story before, but one of the little things I always did in my business was, especially with the planning process for me was always about 2.5, 3 hours long. It depends on whether I was involved in the ceremony or not. And I knew most of the time my customers were coming from their job, so they wouldn't have an opportunity to eat before they arrived. So one of the things I would always do is I'd reach out to them beforehand and say, tell me what your favorite pizza toppings are. And I'd always have pizza available, show up at the same time that they show up, just so they could have an opportunity to eat something before we got into the planning process, so that they weren't thinking about how hungry they were during that time. So they wouldn't get hangry. That's like a $20 thing. It's a nothing, but you'd be amazed at the appreciation for something just as small as ordering a pizza and thinking in terms of what is in the best interest of your customer. If it's not going to be something that's going to benefit the customer, then obviously don't do it. But if you're really paying attention and listening, you're going to come up with all sorts of different ideas within your own business of what are the things I can do that are going to be a benefit to my customer, that my customer is going to appreciate the most.
Cool. No. I wanted to. I was just trying to think. We've got 7 minutes or 6 minutes left, roughly, because I want to keep this to about a half an hour. We could go a little longer, but I wanted to. So the masterclass for people who are thinking, looking at that. How is that going to be? Is it going to be lecture, hands-on? What kind of walk us through what a person could expect?
So I've been thinking about this, and yes, because I'm not speaking at the conference, I'm actually just doing the masterclass, and the masterclass is 2 hours long. It's 10 o'clock on the Wednesday morning, February 26th, I believe. So it's 10 to noon.
Yeah. There we go.
Because Thursday is the 27th. So yeah, it's on. I don't want to throw out too many dates to confuse people. It's on the morning of Wednesday, February 26th at 10 a.m. to noon. So the first half hour, 45 minutes is going to be talking about just kind of what customer experience is about, because in order to do a hands-on workshop, you have to have an understanding of what it is you're trying to do. What goals are you trying to achieve? After we talk a little bit about what the customer experience is, then we're going to spend quite a bit of time doing creative brainstorming, where I'll actually break people into groups, and you'll sit down and you'll get a certain amount of time to work on different projects as far as coming up with all these creative ideas of different things that you can do to improve upon various areas of your business.
Such as sales, or give me an example so we can just.
Okay. So as an example, one, again, going back to my Disney route, so to speak, is that Disney's service elements are courtesy, efficiency, and show. So one of the things that we'll work on as an example will be to talk about how can you make your customers feel more welcome doing business with you? What are the different ways that you can make them feel more welcome when they come to do business with you? How can you make their time more efficient doing business with you? How can you make their time with you more enjoyable? And that creative brainstorming is an opportunity not to come up with exact ideas. It's an opportunity to come up with imaginative ideas, big ideas that you can whittle down when you get back to your office and go, hey, this was a great idea. Okay, so maybe we can't afford to do all of this, but we can afford to do these little things. And what I learned through the process of creative brainstorming is that you're not going to come up with just one idea. You're not going to come up with two ideas. You're going to come up with a bunch of different ideas. So you have lots of things that you can go back home with to work with and say, okay, I love this. I like this. This will work. That won't work. We'll put that one off to the side. But during creative brainstorming, no one is allowed to criticize an idea. In other words, if I come up with an idea of how I can make my customers feel more welcome doing business with me, nobody in my group can say, well, that idea won't work.
Sure.
Or that's not a good idea. Or oh man, that idea is going to cost a lot of money. Well, maybe it is an expensive idea, but there are ways, even with inexpensive ideas, you can find ways to do it at a lower cost, or maybe you can do it at no cost at all. So, did that answer your question, John?
That does. That gives kind of an idea of.
There will be a workbook. I will have a workbook, and there will be materials for people to take home with them as well. So, and there will be after class one-on-ones for those who want to continue the conversation. So.
And that's what I wanted to make sure we hit on a little bit is when I've been to workshops and there's just so much going on, and especially you mentioned the brainstorming idea, and you get these ideas from other people, and you've got these, and then later it would be nice to be able to flesh out some of these ideas with someone.
Exactly.
And is that the kind of thing that's going to be available for people to do?
Absolutely. So even after people get home, if they want to talk some more about, if they want to deep dive into more of an idea, there'll be additional time that you can spend with me. It's not going to cost you anything for us to talk a little bit more about some of the ideas that you might go home with. Maybe you're stuck. Maybe you need a little help with adapting an idea to what it is that you want to do. Maybe after you sat down in this brainstorming session, you didn't really appreciate any of the ideas that you heard, but in the process, though, it got your creative juices flowing, so that on your way home, you came up with a couple ideas of your own, but you just need a little help. And how are you going to adapt these to your business? And again, nothing about delivering wow level experiences has to be expensive or epic. It can, you can do a Google search for customer experience. You'll find article after article after article just talking about some of the basics of just, do you smile when you first meet a customer? Do you call them by name? Do you make them feel genuinely welcome into your business? Do you are you an active listener? They're so much of it. But here's what happens over time: we forget. For some reason we let these little things that we used to do suddenly just kind of, we let them slip away, and we take them for granted, and we ignore them rather than taking advantage of those.
Are you talking about that creativity we had at one time as a child that has been beaten out of us or extracted from us? Right. From our system. I was at this seminar in Las Vegas this one time, and there was a man on stage who talked about that.
Well, and actually, here's the thing: my workshop is sponsored by the Imaginativity Institute, which is where business owners go to learn how to speak fluent wow by blending inspiration, imagination, and creativity to overcome the greatest challenges of everyday life and business. I am of the belief that if you want to make improvements in your business, you have to be imaginative if you want to stand out from the crowd. Again, every DJ is alike. I'm sorry, we are. As far as what we provide, we're all alike. What is it that makes you different? And you could say, well, it's the music I play. No. Or my lights, no, it's the way you treat people. That's what they're going back to what I said earlier, that's what they're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. I have yet to hear anybody ever say in a sales consult, one of the first things I always ask in a sales consult, or used to ask in a sales consult, is tell me a little bit about the last wedding you went to. What do you remember most? I have yet to have anybody say, I remember the uplighting. I remember the photo booth. I remember this. I remember that. Yeah. They remember how they felt. Oh, it was a fun party, or I danced all night long or whatever, but they're not talking about the stuff. And interesting statistic There is a company, an international customer experience research firm called Gartner, the Gartner Group. And according to research that they just recently did, 89% of businesses now say they're competing primarily on the basis of customer experience. 89% of businesses say they are now competing primarily on the basis of customer experience, which means 89% makes customer experience a brand in and of itself. And it also makes it more important than the product or services that we sell. And in reality, what's happening is that people are investing more in the relationship with a business than they are in the stuff that business sells. That's what it boils down to. And that's how important customer experience is. And that's why if you're not willing to jump on the bandwagon and start looking more at the experiences you're providing to your customers, then you're going to get left behind.
And I think you could even see some of that in, you mentioned Zappos and how they handle their customers,
right?
And many of these online businesses that are out there and trying to create a positive customer experience through their different apps, connections, whatever, because that's become such an important part of really everyday life. Well,
and it's funny because Five Below, I don't know why. I love going in Five Below. I know it's a teenager. It's places for teenage girls, but I love going in there and I love looking at all their electronic stuff, the phone stuff, cases and cables. I have more cases and cables than I know what to do with. But here's the cool thing about Five Below. Each Five Below store, and they're national now, each Five Below store has its own customer service manager or customer experience manager. And their sole responsibility is to make sure that the experience that is being delivered is one that is going to keep customers coming back for more. When you walk in the door at Christmas time, when you walk through the door at Five Below, I don't care how deep the line is, somebody from behind the counter is going to say, "Welcome to Five Below."
Yep.
That's now whether I think in that situation, sometimes it becomes a little bit more of a routine,
right?
But that's beside the point. I'm hearing it when I walk through the door. Wow, look how busy they are. And they realized I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at commercials that you see today. It's not about what great mileage a car gets. It's about how cool you're going to feel behind the wheel.
Oh yes.
It's Domino's Pizza commercials, the ones where they have that free replacement guarantee. If you drop the pizza or throwing it or whatever, just bring it back to us and we're going to replace it for free. They don't talk about how cool their pizza is. They don't talk about what it tastes like. They talk about we've got your back. Yeah. If you're silly enough to drop your pizza, here's the thing. We don't want to embarrass you in front of your family and force you to have to scrape cheese off the top of the box. You just tell your family it's going to be an hour or so late and you'll come back. You're going to come back and replace. No, in America, we scrape the cheese off the top of the box. That's just the way we do it. But the point of the commercial isn't about bringing pizza back. I bet you 1 in 100 people might take advantage of that offer.
Right.
The point of this is that we want you to feel confident when you buy your pizza that, you know what, we got you covered no matter what. We're going to wrap you in this warm, fuzzy blanket of care, and we're going to take really good care of you. So go ahead, throw it across the park, and if it gets damaged,
let it slide out the car door.
It has nothing to do with how good the pizza. But here's the thing. Pizza Hut doesn't do that.
No.
What are some of the others? Papa John's doesn't do that. This is Domino's way of standing out in a very, very crowded marketplace. There are tons of pizza joints in the world, just as there are tons of DJs in the world. What are you going to do to stand out in a very crowded marketplace? How are you going to make your customers feel valued, special, important, as though the experience that they're going to enjoy with you was created solely with them in mind?
And that's what you'll be digging into February 26th.
I know. I'm excited.
Yes.
And if people have questions, John, about this, they can reach out to me through my Facebook page, or they can reach out through my Just Jockey News, or even my personal email. I don't care. If you have questions about the workshop before you sign up, I get it. Bring on the questions. Let's talk about some of the things that we're going to talk about. If there's something that specifically concerns you, let's discuss that. And I'd love to have you at the workshop. So I'm happy to answer whatever questions anyone might have before they sign up.
And what's the email that they should reach out to you at?
They can do me through through Disc Jockey News, which is Ron Ruth at discjockeynews.com, or real easy is ron@ronruth.com. I mean, it doesn't get any simpler than that. I did that because I could never remember my own email address.
And that makes it a little easier.
Yes, now, especially since I tattooed it on my arm.
That's excellent. For the information on the show, that's coming up here in February, you can go to DJNTV.com/show. Right now, there is a special promotion going on with the full show passes. You do not need to have a full show pass to take the masterclass. You could come down with an exhibit hall pass and then join Ron and then hang out in the DJNTV chill room. We have that set up for those who do not want to go to the full seminars, but if you want the seminars, you can do that. You can go see Ron, and then you will have access to the recordings from the main seminar room that we're going on opposite.
That's really cool,
So,
is being able to have access to all the recordings if you come to the workshops. I think that's one of the best perks ever.
Yeah, that way you do not miss a thing with the show. And that's an important thing, because I know that's always a frustration for myself. It's like, okay, I want to get that, but then I'll miss that. So that's our...
And my workshop's at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I would not be surprised if I bring donuts. I would not be surprised.
And
I'm just saying.
There are Dunkin' Donuts. I believe it's
because I want you to feel value, special, important, and as though the workshop is designed solely with you in mind.
Because it is.
Because it is.
That's what it sounds great. Link for Ron Ruth is down in the the description below. The links for the convention and everything are down below. Ron, thanks for coming on tonight and kind of sharing.
Thank you for having me, John. Yeah. This was fun. This went way too fast.
No, it does go very quick. We'll be back here at the top of the hour. We're going to be over on our PBN TV, our Photo Booth News TV, going over to that channel. And Rob Peters is going to be joining me, and we're going to be talking about getting started and his journey with getting a photo booth added to his business. And we'll be back at the top of the hour. Thanks again, Ron.
Thanks. See ya.